Hello everyone, this is just a very short little recording where I would like to share with you my own astrological study where I could not help myself but look back at the chart of Fukushima. And I'm talking about the Fukushima disaster that took place on the 11th of March 2011, sorry, because I don't know if the official date is the 29th of July or today, the 30th of July. The Kamchatka um, earthquake. And I wanted to say disaster, but I stopped myself because I don't have enough information about, the repercussions of it. But I do, what I heard so far is that there wasn't very many casualties because the epicenter was in the sea. It wasn't in the land. So the biggest dangers now are tsunamis that are actually um, heading towards Japan, United Hawaii, if I'm not mistaken, and of course Russia itself. So the seismology of the event is very, very similar. So there has to be something in the sky in the chart which links together the two events in maybe a non-direct way. So let's look at the Fukushima disaster, where that is so, the disaster part there was so obvious. Look at this, anoretic Uranus in the sign of Pisces. That's like, how should I say, the full force of water and oceans and all of that conjunct Black Moon Lilith. So Black Moon Lilith, okay, 28 degree, but that's also anoretic, the same thing. So again, this very, very strong, explosive, built up energy, where yes, it's on one hand geomagnetic, geological, scientific, uh, calamity response, all of that. But it also has a very strong emotional and spiritual side to it. Collective, of course. So let's look at Neptune, anoretic in Aquarius, Aquarius people, interhuman connection. Uh, Aquarius in ancient astrology was a sign of the good spirit, where if spirit wanted to inspire or do something really, really positive, good, useful in our lives, well, Aquarius was the gateway. And Neptune in an erratic position, well, it has a message. How deadly, how dangerous technology is. And there is nothing we can do. Matter itself does not permit us to bypass those dangers. However, the good side, in both cases, solidarity, compassion, it sparked massive international compassion, sympathy, etc., etc., and learning. It's not just Japanese people. Everyone learned from the Fukushima disaster what they needed to learn personally. Some people more morally, other technologically, other, and that's the North Node in Sagittarius, where the borders were really dissolved. No borders here. In the name of humanity and compassion and solidarity. The other thing that was relevant, elderly were volunteering to be on the front line, the cleanup operations and rescue operation, exposed directly to radioactive substance. That means certain death. And the elderly were offering instead of the youth, or you know what I'm that's also something so Neptune, the sacrifice. but also Aquarius, the nobility of it. The well, ultimately, the profound understanding and wisdom and respect for the continuity of life that the Japanese people displayed. A big lesson to all of us, what it means to be a human being. And also that the power of solidarity and love could not be defeated neither by nature, neither by technology, neither by, well, ultimately anything nuclear, radioactive, etc., in any way, shape, and form. May it be bomb, reactor, medical equipment, ruled by Pluto. Pluto in the sign of Capricorn, squaring Jupiter in the sign of Aries. This is the Fukushima. So this is not this is not present. This is the Fukushima chart. So you see Jupiter, Pluto square. But then you can also see North Node. Where is it? Black Moon Lilith and Uranus square. So that's a very not easy energy. You can see how all hell broke loose. And Uranus is the one who brings the extremity. Pisces, the water claimed all, but also Black Moon Lilith, toxic water. It cannot be more toxic than radioactive, right? And the sun was in Pisces, no. Mars, sorry, was in Pisces. Chiron was in Pisces. So you could see that this cocktail was inevitable. And Neptune was 1 foot in Pisces because it was at an erratic degree of Aquarius. So you could see how that energy really, really played out in an extreme way. But at the same time, look at this. Neptune trine south node in Gemini, the solidarity and releasing karma. What does releasing karma mean? Well, humankind really done a lot of harm to the oceans. Not bad willingly, but neither did the ocean do the same harm to us bad willingly. You know what I mean? Rebalancing of karma. And of course, the ocean does not like radioactivity a lot. And it basically told us, because who said that the ocean is not a living sentient being? Just because we cannot identify it as such. I really don't want to get into the water experiment type of examples that every astrologer used. The name of the Japanese scientist who experimented with water, emotion, water and emotion, and eludes me. But if that is on, then you can imagine that the ocean is the same thing, just that it reacts to the collective psi rather than just an individual psi. But anyway, Jupiter, what did Jupiter square? Oh yeah, Pluto. Jupiter squaring Pluto, so yeah. Yes. Inevitable. But then Jupiter was also kind of opposing Saturn. So that's a very tough energy. We're not speaking about tough in the, philosophical sense, or because in the philosophical sense, it's useful, it's has a lot of positive sides to it. Like Saturn in the sign of Libra, diplomacy, agreements, contracts, what is right, what is wrong, equity, um, equality, and basically the beauty of thought. Venus is the ruler of Libra. So Saturn in it lost confinement a little bit. But Jupiter in the sign of Aries, the boom, it also determined a lot of consequences, especially legal consequences, new health and safety rules. The whole planet, every single country who has nuclear energy learned from that and benefited from that because the calamity forced technology to improve in health and safety sense. So basically, everyone benefited from that. So this is Fukushima. Anything I wanna point out or mention here? And now let's look at the present moment. The Kamchatka. Is it even pronounced like that? Sorry. So on one hand, Mars is in Virgo. Mars was in Pisces back in Fukushima. Neptune and Set. Neptune is in Aries. So it made a long transit from this anaretic Aquarius to the very beginning of Aries. So even though it's not anaretic degree, but it's 0 degree, where Neptune will return very, very soon because it's in the retrograde. So it's aiming for that 0 degree of Aries, the beginning and the end. Both 0 degree and 29 degree are critical degrees. So, and Saturn, it was in Libra. Now it's the opposite sign, Aries. So and the two planets are conjunct and retrograde. And this means this was all only the first warning. More is to come without a shadow of a doubt. Because both of these planets are aiming to 29 degrees of Pisces. So water again, water, oceans, big stuff. But then again, Uranus. At the present moment, it's at 0 degrees of Gemini, but it's still connected to 29 degrees of Taurus, where it will return this autumn, or it will start its retrograde this autumn, if I'm not mistaken, and it will return permanently into Gemini May next year. Anyway, doesn't really matter. What matters is that Uranus is critical. Absolutely. It trines Pluto in Aquarius, where Neptune was. Right? Now Pluto is there. So if Neptune is the unconscious, Pluto is what makes parts of the unconscious, like it or not, conscious, like psychoanalysis. But you see that sign of technology, people, etc., etc., and it's telling us that, well, nature is reacting to something that maybe we are responsible for. Because trine Pluto, so Uranus and Gemini trine Pluto, one of its expressions is a real deal, but I mean real deal. I don't mean philosophy, I don't mean faith, I don't mean religion, I don't mean spirituality. I mean real deal empathic connection where everyone feels the same thing because the collective psyche is like a collective organ. You know what I mean? We are not in that sense only. Not that very much different than a beehive, really. What one feels like, let me give you an example. Some bees can get drunk because they visit fermenting, blah, blah, blah. If a bee is drunk, it's not permitted inside the colony. Even if it has fulfilled its duty, comes back with the nectar, etc. If a bee is drunk, it's not permitted in. If a bee is sick, is also not permitted in. No, if a bee comes with a sickness, wants to get back into the, not permitted in, etc., etc. So the collective feeling matters very, very much, and it's water tsunamis, right? So usually a tsunami is representative of the collective unconscious when it spills something out. Something very, very, very massive. In 2011, but more like after, to the realm of 2012, imagine the conspiracy theories. Imagine the myriad of scandals, the sex scandals, Hollywood scandals, corrupt politician scandals, Brexit. What does that have to do with? It's not Brexit year, but it was exactly that year which prepared for Brexit. Actually, I don't even know which year was Brexit year, but it all prepared. It really, really prepared it. So then the water washed over everything. It was a release. And also in 2012 and 2011 prepared the Higgs boson. The Large Hadron Collider, its first, I'm looking for big words here, so sorry. Not groundbreaking, but world-breaking discovery of the Higgs boson and the rules of the subatomic world and the particle collisions that kept getting stronger and stronger and stronger. And since then, well, the whole world is filled with Mandela effects, dimensional rifts and stuff like that, where there are trillions of people film. I myself filmed one. I lived back in England. I was walking my dog, and the sky literally was split into two. And I'm not speaking about some illusion. You could see that there's something else. And not me, but everyone walking. No one, we didn't care. We lived near a military base. Just another day, nothing special, nothing extra. Because those phenomena were on a daily basis. So much so that we became totally insensitive to it. It was like lights were going in and out, clouds, and just another day, no problem. Everyone, including me, was minding our own merry business. No alarm bell whatsoever. So you can see that things happened after that anoretic Uranus and Neptune in their respective sign in 2011. Now the same thing. This is preparing for something. Because if we look at the North Node, the South Node, well, it's in fellow mercurial sign Virgo. And Virgo in itself is the epitome of elimination. Like IBS, diarrhea, irritable bowel syndrome, Crohn's, anything where the guts malfunction or are severely irritated. Usually that person will have something hard aspected or temporary in the sign of Virgo. So you see that all of us, humanity, is going through a very strong IBS episode right now. And the Earth is mirroring it. The Earth is showing it. Back in 2011, Jupiter was in Aries, now is in Cancer. Cardinal energy. So you see the similarity. Okay, Cancer is totally different, but it's still cardinal. And speaking about Jupiter was squaring a Pluto. Now Jupiter is trining Black Moon Lilith. So I know it's a totally different energy, but the expression is so very similar. Because the trine permits Black Moon Lilith in Scorpio all the toxicity to wash over. But the toxicity in this case is not radioactive, it's not nuclear. It's actually psychological, the mass psi. And what else did I want to mention? So, long story short, this is gonna have repercussions later on. And the period is, well, roughly from this autumn to the end of spring next year. That is a window of time when calamities, and I'm not saying the repeat of the Fukushima disaster, but something as eye-opening, and let's hope not as destructive as that, will take place. Because Pluto trine Uranus, and very soon in a few days, Mars in the sign of when it gets into Libra will join. It will be a grand air trine. That's flowy, that's permissive. But Mars Pluto trines are exactly those trines where life is dynamic and fate is working very, very hard. Other types of trines are usually can be when nothing ever happens. Peace, there you go, peace. Mars Pluto trines, however, are very intense. They almost feel like sextiles in a certain way. So action is definitely gonna be there. A big learning, a big discovery. Something massive is gonna result from that. So thank you so much for joining my study. I hope that this was, at least entertaining for my viewers. Thank you so much. Until next time, bye for now.